Yeah, well, Arkansas, having to go back and see them, third or fourth game of the year, whatever it has been, and watch their young guys, sort of turn the page a few times and see some of the seasons that some of their guys have had has been, impressive. And Coach Anderson's style is one of which they get better. And obviously their team has changed here in the NIT with losing Daniel Gafford. But I think that the one thing that goes unnoticed is how versatile they become without him, how random they become with their offense and their defense, and their pace of play is so fast. And when you take into account the shooters that they have and how they shoot the ball from the three-point line and how they can change up defensively, they really make your team, read and react throughout the game. So we're going to have to be, really organized in terms of what we have to do defensively and offensively. But should be a good matchup. Should be, to be honest with you, a really exciting game just in terms of the style that's coming in here that we have to be prepared for.
Aside from that versatility being more prominent, what else is kind of different about this team without Daniel Gafford?
Well, he's a first-team All-SEC player. His shot blocking, his offensive rebounding, and the presence that he gives them inside is something that is a little bit unique. He's obviously a very, very good player. But without him, like I said, they become way more wide open in terms of the way they attack and shoot the ball from 5 positions and drive it from 5 positions. Their motion allows them to really move, and it's just one of those things where it's not a very structured game. They're free-flowing. And Isaiah Joe making 110 threes on the season as a freshman, leading the league in three-point shooting, makes and percentage is incredible. You look at Jones and the way that he's made 85 threes. I mean, they can really, really shoot the ball, and I think that's the thing that in watching them play against Providence that was really evident in that game, how fast they played, how well they shot the ball, and then defensively their ability to change defenses, matchup zones, to press, to man, it just keeps you off balance. But the three-point line is something that's very scary.
How much of an advantage is it to have already seen their press this season?
Yeah, their presses, it's a couple different types of presses. I think when you play them at Arkansas, it's a very different game than when you play them on the road or at home. Maybe they don't go to it as much, but definitely when they put it on, obviously you have to be very organized. And I think the thing that they do is they put the ball in other guys' hands with the doubling and getting rid of it and moving it, that other guys have to make decisions rather than maybe your main ball handler. So our other guys, I think that's the one thing coming out of it playing the first time is, you really can't get sped up. You have to try and be very, very detailed, very, very smart once you break the press to be able to be organized, because charges, turnovers, and quick shots is what they want. And I think in game one you saw a couple of those instances, especially early in the game, where different guys had problems, whether it was charging, taking quick shots, not being organized. So I think, playing them the one time you have some feedback, but we've also played a lot of games now, and hopefully we're a little better at that.
Having already played a game in this tournament, maybe settling in a little bit, have guys maybe locked in a little bit more than they were, going into the first game? Have they kind of found a?
It's definitely a different game. The first game is one of which, you don't really know what to expect, and it's on you fast, and you're dealing with a lot of different types of things, whether that's, not getting in the tournament or, who are we playing? Next thing you know, as you get through the first one, it becomes a little bit more of your normal routine where you have an opponent like Arkansas was won a game. You now have gotten one game under your belt at home in the postseason, and you're playing another one. And just looking at our guys in terms of our, getting through the first one, now moving into yesterday's practice and whatnot, I thought we had a good vibe about us, and guys worked really hard yesterday, and we're going to have to do that again today to be prepared.
Obviously not even Romeo, but you're starting backcourt, 30-something points, double-digit rebounds and assists, not a ton of turnovers between them. Just as you kind of triage that performance from Al, Rob, and Devontae, just what did you like?
Well, I thought those guys for the first time played on the floor at the same time. It's a very unique deal. Romeo plays a lot of minutes, so having Zach and Demezi available is good, but also playing your best offensive players at times was something we'll have to do, and I think that'll be part of what we have to do tomorrow. It also gives you your, ball handling. It gives you, it gives you speed. It gives you some guys that, offensively can, do a lot of different types of things. So I thought those guys did a nice job, and they'll be a big, big key. Both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively, against Arkansas. You need multiple ball handlers at times, and the decision-making and turning it over is something that, Arkansas is, I think, 12th in the country in forcing turnovers. So, I mean, you need your guards to really play well. So hopefully those guys, getting on the floor and playing a ton of minutes is good, and hopefully the next game, obviously they're ready to go.
Can you talk a little bit about Al a little bit? You got a career high last game, and just about his development over the course of the season.
Al's played a lot of minutes for us, and he's been very consistent. We're trying to get him, to be as confident as he possibly can on offense, and I thought you saw that at times this season, but you also saw that the other night. He's very aggressive going to the basket. He's one of our best shooters, so we need him to do that, and he'll be a big key as we go into, however many games we play here, but especially on Saturday. He's played a lot of minutes. He's much more experienced right now than he's been, and he's been a consistent guy every day. And for Al, I think the big thing is to finish on a high note, continue to play with confidence.
Coach Devontae Green, his resurgence also almost had a calming effect on this offense. It's something we wouldn't have said at the beginning of the year, but he has really had a resurgence in this back half.
Devontae's been a big key to, I guess it's probably 5 out of 6 games now, and then the 6th and 1 loss was Ohio State where he made 8 threes. So, offensively he's shown his talent. He's playing a very, very confident style. The big thing with him is he can do a lot of things. He's the one guy that not only can make shots but make plays for others. And he stood out here in our last 4 weeks of play. He's done a nice job.
Have you had to challenge Duran at all coming off the last game?
Yeah, Duran was good yesterday. I think coming off the Big Ten tournament and moving into that first one, he wasn't very dialed in. And then physically and mentally, you have to be dialed in at this time. You have to be motivated. You have to be ready to go. And very, very good attitude the last few days, especially yesterday in practice. And like I told him, we're not going to be as good as we can be unless you show, sort of the ability to do what he's done for us in the last month and some change, which is give us a low post presence and play heavier minutes. And I think, it'll be a tough game for him because there's really no true low post presence in this game. There's a lot of movement. But on the other end, if he can establish himself in the paint, especially from an offensive perspective, I think that helps us.
When you go about trying to flip a switch with a guy like that mentally, is it kind of pushing a different button that you haven't done all season? Is the onus kind of on him? How do you, get him to get locked in?
No, I think it's, it's up to the individual player right now to, be motivated, to find a way to, bring yourself sort of to the challenge and be the best that you've been all season. And talked to him a lot about that in the last 3 or 4 days, and was proud of his effort yesterday. He was very, very good in practice. So as long as things go well today, I think he's going to be ready to go.